Hey guys, we're waiting just a few minutes and we'll get started once we have all the hosts on here, okay? I think we're still waiting on a few more people, so we'll wait to get started for probably until a little after 2. Miss Fostick, how many were you having? Do we have everybody from your side here?
We have 4. So I see Mr. Ivy, I see Miss Hageman,
I haven't had
myself, and Miss Jones is going to be joining as well.
Okay, so we have a little while anyway because we're at 1:58. So we'll get started here in a little bit.
Hi, South friends.
Hello, Dr. Basham.
Guys,
How's it been going, Bash?
good. Yeah, it's awesome.
They hadn't run you out of the umbrella yet?
Nope, not yet.
That's good.
Yeah. How's everything? How's the school year?
It is, it's like half a school year because we have half of our students.
Yeah.
No, it's been fine. I mean, what can we say about this school year except we're excited that it progresses at a rate that we are able to keep up with.
Yeah. I guess we have about, 1/3 of our kids who are remote and then the others coming in.
That's good. Our numbers are going up. We're looking at different possibilities of what school can continue to be like. We figure if we keep changing the schedule, it keeps people on their toes. No, it's
sure.
it's just the circumstances, but it's been good. I've enjoyed having the kids back on campus a lot more regularly.
Yeah. For sure.
And Miss Morgan, we have everybody.
Perfect. I still have what looks to be a mix of some parents and students joining us. So maybe we'll give it just another minute. Go ahead and get started if that works for everybody.
Hello, Ms. Morgan and Ms. Basham. This is Maddie Nukola. Tristan and I are here. Tristan Carlson and I are here together on Zoom. So just wanted to let you know.
Hi.
Hey there. Glad you could make it.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm excited about how people are coming in.
Hi, Miss Woodruff.
All right. So it seems like my trickle has slowly stopped. So we can go ahead and get started if you guys are okay with that. And then I'll just keep admitting people as they pop up. For the parents and students on, thank you so much for taking the time to come to the info session today. We, of course, have our administration on here, and then we have a lot of representatives from South Iredell High School who are excited to tell you guys about their school and all that they have to offer. So, Ms. Bostic, if you don't mind, I'll turn it over to you and kind of let you guys introduce yourselves. And then I think Dr. Basham and I kind of field various questions and make sure that we ask you guys about all the different things.
Awesome. Sounds good. So we're really excited to be here. I'm LaTanya Bostic. I'm the MYP coordinator at South Iredell High School, and we're very happy that you guys are joining us today, and we hope to give you lots of good information as you start making your choice of schools. So I'll let the rest of our team introduce themselves. Mr. Ivy, you want to go next?
Absolutely. I see all of my Zoom boxes on here. So welcome all of you that are here. We call the people who join our meetings on Zoom Zoomies. So that's how we'll reference you. And the ones who end up showing up in person, which I know this is a completely virtual meeting, they're called Roomies. So it makes it all sorts of fun when we have in-person and virtual classes. But I am Tim Ivy. I'm the principal of South Iredell High School. I like to say that I'm the proud principal of South Iredell High School because I'm exceptionally proud about our school and the accomplishments that our students make each and every day. And so I'm very excited to be able to tell you about South and look forward to getting to know a little bit more about you and helping you to make the best choice for yourselves for high school, and hope that you will choose to join us here at what I like to call the ultimate educational, extracurricular, and athletic experience. And as you can tell, I'm really excited about school. That's my personality. So if you choose to join us, you kind of have to get used to that. It's a package deal is what it is. It's a package deal, but it's a great package. All right, Ms. Jones, you can be next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Jones, and I'm an assistant principal here at South. I'm also currently serving as our diploma program and career-related program coordinator for the IB students grades 11 and 12. I see some familiar names on here. Now, I don't see the faces, but it's funny. I had a conversation with one of the seniors this morning and told me he had a sibling who will be here next year and how excited mom and dad are to continue to get Mr. Ivy's Sunday night Connect Ed phone calls. So if you've not heard those, just know you've got something to look forward to. And Ms. Hageman.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Hageman. I'm one of the school counselors here at South Iredell. We divide our alphabet up. We divide our students up by alphabet so that we all get to interact with 9th through 12th graders, which I think is a good strength, because as your child enters South, they will have the same school counselor all 4 years that can travel with them through the program. And I'm also a parent of 2 former IB students, and I started at Northview and then came to South when everything came here. So looking forward to seeing everybody.
All right, I think that takes care of our introductions for our South friends. So I think we'll get started and just kind of jump into how or what students will experience once they continue on with their MYP program at South.
Ms. Bostic, do you want to talk about that a little bit, or you want me to go ahead and kind of start it out?
Either one, that's fine. I wasn't sure if she was asking a question or she was waiting for somebody to ask a question. Sorry, Dr. Basham.
That's okay.
That's okay. We'll just start talking, and then if questions pop up, they can pop up. So usually the questions, we get several questions. I'll kind of pre-think some of the questions. So we get questions about scheduling and what does scheduling look like when you come to South to continue on in the middle years program. And so in regards to that, it looks very much in some ways like it does when you were, coming through formerly Mount Moore, now the Brawley School, and that students still have to sit for certain subject groups. And so really the big shift that happens when you hit high school is that you also have to start to meet graduation requirements for the state of North Carolina. And we're also trying to ensure that students are meeting prerequisite coursework. So the 9th grade schedules that students will select, Ms. Bostick will talk to you all about that a little bit more and to your students and answer questions about the specific classes, but they're really well laid out to ensure that they're sitting for, English, language acquisition, art, their social studies courses, their science courses, math, and all of those things. And due to the nature of this year, well, every year, we're really looking at ways to offer additional options and flexibility for students. And so those things are not written in stone quite yet, but we have a meeting tomorrow to try to hammer out the details so that we can get that to you all. But due to the nature of those questions, another thing that we get a lot of the time, and this is really from kids, and I appreciate when we get it, they ask, is it doable? Can we balance being in rigorous courses with also being involved in our school and being an athlete and all of those other components? And the answer is yes. Like, I will say that the student body at South is very heavily involved in our school community. And the ones who choose to be involved in extracurriculars and sports and all of those things are able to successfully navigate that. And I think a lot of that is a testament to our teachers and our staff, because they have a really strong support system that's there to help them if something slips. That kind of fear of the high stakes nature of it goes away because they're able to build really solid relationships and they know that folks care about them, and then they support them through that. Mr. Ivy, Ms. Bostick, anybody have anything to add?
I shared a sample schedule with Ms. Morgan. I don't know if she could kind of click on it and pull it up just so that parents can see. I shared that with her earlier. And as Ms. Jones had mentioned, there will be, this is not a schedule that's set in stone as we will meet for registration, but it kind of gives you an idea of kind of the courses and what your child's schedule will look like. So most of our students will continue for most of their courses in their A-Day, B-Day schedule. We do have a couple of classes, for example, science. Our 9th graders will take earth and environmental science in the fall, and then they'll take biology in the spring. And so those are semester long. And so there is a sample that I did share with Ms. Morgan for you guys to look at as well.
Yeah, I can see the screen if you want. That way you can kind of go over it. Let me see here. Pull up the right thing. Okay. There you go.
So you can see here, this is just a sample. And I did have a parent ask me earlier today when I had shared they had asked for a sample schedule, and they asked what exactly does MYP stand for? And MYP, the way I try to explain it to parents is the IB program is kind of a big umbrella program. And then underneath that umbrella, you have your PYP program, your MYP program, and then as juniors and seniors, they can choose DP or CP. So MYP is currently what your students are already taking in the IB program. So that's our 6th grade through our 10th graders. So that's what that means when you see MYP year 4, that's going to be your 9th grader. MYP year 5 is going to be your 10th graders. Also have parents that'll sometimes ask, well, what are the elective options for 9th graders? And as Ms. Jones kind of alluded to, because there are certain program requirements, we make sure that they get those core classes, but then their art electives are going to be visual arts, chorus, orchestra, theater, or band, and band is with required marching band. So this is just kind of a sample schedule that you could see for 9th or 10th graders. Are there any questions about the schedule or anything that we haven't touched base on?
Yeah, so this is just the schedule for like the first semester, right?
That schedule, most of those classes are on an 8A B-Day schedule, just like our students are accustomed to right now. So they would be year-long 8A B-Day classes. So if you look at the top schedule and that the ninth grade schedule, you can see that first block would be alternating days of English and math, second civics and art, third block Spanish. Oh, that would be a student who is playing catch up essentially with world language and taking Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. But most kids coming from the Brawley School would have Spanish one block and maybe health and PE the other. And then the one class that is a little bit different in that ninth grade schedule is that they do have 2 science classes. And that's because we want them to have the opportunity to essentially accelerate a little bit in science so that they have met graduation requirements, and then they have a broad view of the different science courses by the end of 10th grade, so they can determine if they want to take advanced science courses in 11 and 12. So the ninth grade schedule is pretty well established for them, but what we found that it does, and I actually had a parent from formerly Mount Morn, now the Brawley School, say this a couple of years ago. She said she had multiple children. Some of her kids went to other schools and some came to South. She said, the one thing about sending my child to South is I knew that their schedule was going to be like handpicked to set them up to capitalize on what needed to be done to give them the most options that they could have for their, later years. And I will say that that is very much the case. So this schedule, everything in the ninth grade is ticking off a box of something that has to be taken for graduation for the state of North Carolina. And then once they hit the 10th grade, they end up having more flexibility. We have students in that sophomore year who some elect to take up to 3 AP courses while still, meeting all of their IB requirements and things of that nature. And then by the end of the 10th grade, they've effectively met all of the required coursework that they have to take for the state, except for 1 math class, 2 English classes, and 2 credits of social studies. And that actually gives them like the ability to continue on into the IB diploma program, to do the career related program. We have some students who end up going the early college route or doing like a la carte selection of like career and college promise classes through Mitchell or AP coursework and IB coursework. And they really have the world of opportunities at the end of, their time in the IB program through the end of the middle years program in grade 10. I see the question in the chat, I'm sorry. The elective choices for the 9th grade, essentially their schedules are chosen for them because there are classes that they have to have in the 9th grade. So English 1, every child's going to take it. Math 2, or some are maybe accelerated, they're going to sit for a math class. Same with civics, that is a required social studies class for 9th grade. World language is a requirement. They'll continue on with what they've had in middle school, or they could switch to Latin 1. Most take PE. Again, in this sample schedule, that Spanish, there would not be a double block of Spanish. There would be PE in that schedule, and that is a requirement from the state of North Carolina. And then the science classes. Their art elective is what they're selecting in the 9th grade, and that's one of those 5 classes. So theater, orchestra, chorus, band, or visual art. So we'll have hard copies of this that can come home and also put this out there for you all digitally. I know it's like a huge, overwhelming amount of information to be kind of processing in a Zoom meeting, and that can be tough.
And Ms. Bostic did share all this with me as well, so I'll email that out to all the 8th grade parents so that they'll have the information afterwards too.
And I'm seeing a question about the about PE not being listed on there. Please note that Spanish is a A-Day, B-Day class. And so if a student is playing catch up, they would have Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. But with this being a Google Doc, we'll clean that up and add the PE and the Spanish as A-Day, B-Day alternating classes before you send it out. And that way you'll know exactly what it is. But the 9th grade students do get PE in the 9th grade. And so we make sure that they have that requirement taken care of in that grade as well.
And I did not, Miss Morgan, this sample schedule, I did not share out with you. I'm waiting until we have our registration meeting this week, because as Miss Jones said, we're, some of the things are not set in stone. And so we're waiting to kind of change those. So this was just a sample schedule that we had from last year that I had pulled up just to kind of show you guys. So I will actually send out the updated schedule once we finished our registration meeting.
Okay, perfect.
And yes, there was another question in the chat about arts electives. And yes, they are guaranteed to get an arts elective. That's part of the ninth grade MYP program. And I normally tell parents when they're trying to make the decision, one, Iredell Statesville Schools has so many choices. That is a great thing to have for students. It's a great opportunity. And there are lots of great choices. And I don't want to make any school besides South sound like that they don't have great choices too. But ultimately, I'm tasked to talk about our choices. And so what I feel like when I tell families about South is you started the MYP program, and it is a 6th through 10th grade program. So the way I look at it is, why would you stop in the middle of your program? I mean, you've just finished the 8th grade year. You've got 2 more years to complete that. And so it's almost like you started a race and then you decided not to finish. Your students are automatically slated to come to South. And so in Power School, you don't have to do anything for your child to be accepted to South. The fact that you are a student at the Brawley School means that your child is automatically next year a South Iredell student. If you want to opt out, that is how we tell families, because we do have families each year who want to join in 9th grade. And so I always make sure that they understand the choice that they're making. When you hear another school talk, they're going to say, if you choose to come to our school. And what I always tell people is, you really should look at it from this perspective from South. If you choose not to come to our school, then this is, where it kind of goes, because they're automatically slated to come here. And so I really encourage families to explore that, even if after the 10th grade, you decide, maybe I want to go to another school in the county, or I want to take advantage of another option that's out there, or I want to be involved in something else. Those are all great. And I think that we also have a lot of families who consider the early college program, and there's nothing wrong with the early college program. So I typically encourage families and advise families, if you are applying for the early college program, until you get the acceptance letter and until you've gone to orientation, because those 2 things have been the deciders for all 8th graders that I've dealt with. Don't give away your spot at South until you've done those 2 things and you know for sure. Because a lot of times what happens is students apply to the early college and then they get in, but the friend that they wanted to go with them does not. And in 8th grade, that is very important to students. It's always important for socialization and things too, but then they decide, ultimately, I don't want to go, and I want to go to South. So please don't give away your guaranteed spot in the IB program at South until you're absolutely sure that you don't want to be part of it. And I just encourage people that, because as each year goes by, we have more and more families that choose to attend South. So just so you kind of get an idea of what that looks like from us as a school, our school currently has 1,554 students. Our largest that we've been in the time that I've been here is up to 1,700. We typically have about half of our student population that participates in some form of the IB program, meaning MYP, DP, or CP. And then we have about 200 students each year who willfully just elect to come to South just because they want to be part of South's culture. Like, they're from outside the school districts. They don't have anything to do with MYP or any of those feeder programs that run into our school. They just like what's going on at South, and they want to come, and they willfully apply and drive themselves to school each day, because that's the district's expectation for that. And I like that reputation as a school. I like for kids to want to be on our campus, and I like for them to enjoy the experience here while they're here, because high school is about an experience. Of course, there's the educational part to it, but as a parent, if you think back to what your high school time was like, you remember things you did with your friends, you remember the relationships you built with your teachers. It's very seldom that we focus on what I learned in a class. And so what we realize is education is our top goal, but we also need to make sure that kids have a very well-balanced high school experience, and then they can be able to do lots of things, be involved in lots of clubs. It needs to be centered around students holistically. And so that's why that's really one of the core parts of our mission, is that our school is focused completely around that whole child, that IB model, and developing not just their academic selves, but their whole self as a person, helping them to be service oriented, community minded, things like that nature.
We have a question, a great question from one of our students who wants to know the difference between honors classes, MYP, AP classes, and then, college is on the mind of most of our students. So if you could kind of go into like the benefits of the MYP program and how that would benefit them.
Brooke, I'm going to let Ms. Hageman speak to this, but could you, if you can add me as a co-host, I have a document that might help illustrate it that I can project while she speaks, and it'll kind of show the difference.
Sure, of course.
Honors classes are classes that are a little bit accelerated and go a little bit more in depth in the information. And the thing I really like about the MYP honors classes, and every student who's an honors student, regardless of program, will be in an honors class if they qualify for that class. But they typically don't spend a lot of time on rote information. They want you to understand the concept. They want you to be able to apply it in a problem or a process. And that's the honors class. And an honors class will give a student an extra 0.5 in their GPA. So a student that made an A instead of a 4.0 for that standard level class, they would get a 4.5 for an honors level class. AP classes are advanced placement classes. They are managed through the College Board. We have to send a copy of the syllabus and the curriculum that we're going to follow in the class, and the teacher has to ensure that all their students are registered on the College Board website for the final exam. And these classes are taught in two ways here at South. A lot of them are A-Day, B-Day to make it really easy for our advanced students to add those in starting in their sophomore year. Some of them do have a requirement for something prior to it, like AP Chem. You would have wanted to have your biology class and perhaps an honors chemistry, but we don't require that. We have students that are really strong. You need to have that math 3, you need to have the biology, and then AP Chem is an option. But we also have AP Computer Science and Computer Science Principles that we pair together if possible, and you can take singly with another A-Day, B-Day class. The difference is the exam for this class, the AP class, is offered at the end of the course in May. Through College Board. We administer it, but they create the exam. A wonderful thing about North Carolina is that any student that makes a 3 or higher on that exam, and the exam score goes to a 5, will get college credit for that class. The one caveat is, let's say I made a 5 on the AP World History exam, but I decided to be a history major at Appalachian. Well, Appalachian will give me a history credit for that, but they may not want to replace it with one of those required courses for that major, but I am going to get credit. So that's 3 hours of credit for that class. Same with IB exams. You take those at the end of your senior year when that course has been completed. Those are typically 2-year courses. We have some that are single. But it's the same thing. The state has also gone to universities and said, we want to give credit for a 5 or higher on that SL exam. And what's the HL? There's a difference between HL and SL, what they're offering. Do you remember that, Nicole? It's just slipped my mind.
So again, 9th and 10th grade, the MYP program courses that you're going to sit for here at South, the bulk of them are honors level coursework. Again, like Ms. Hageman said, they're going to be familiar to what you've experienced at the Brawley School. A lot of application, a lot of problem-based learning or project-based learning, and focus on collaboration, which then of course ensures that our students are well prepared for whatever they choose to do for the upper grades. So the 11th and 12th graders here at South, we tend to see them gravitate towards the IB diploma program, which is essentially 7 college level courses over the course of 2 years. And we've also seen a little bit more interest in the last several years in the career related program, which is essentially a hybrid of 3 or 4 of those IB courses paired with a career study. And so students are taking CTE courses. And I think probably our most popular pathway is health science. So they're able to get like CNA licensure and take college level biology and English and a course called personal and professional skills, where they really get to master some of those soft skill things that we know are important in workplace environments and things like that, that they may not focus in other academic classes. And within those IB courses, there are 2 distinctions: standard level courses and higher level courses. And it's pretty easy, I think, based on what the name implies. Higher level courses are going to have an additional unit of study. Students have to sit for a certain amount of them. I will tell you the one that they all take, CP and DP, and then a whole bunch of kids who just opt to take it because they're very successful in it, is language and literature. And so in 11th and 12th grade, those are their English classes, and it's a pretty cool class. I used to teach it. So of course they're learning works of literature and looking at them thematically like that they're accustomed to. But it's a pretty cool class because it's also applied to the world around us. So you could look at things like the news and persuasion and how it's used to appeal to an audience. And they are able to look at social media and how that is used to, and how language itself can kind of sway meaning and how things are interpreted. So it's a pretty cool class that they really enjoy. And I know that those are things that are several years away from right now. And we don't want you to make decisions right now based on those things, but we just want you to make the decision about where to come to high school. And because it's really a 4-year decision, right? We want you to have an experience that will be fun and exciting and, kind of that total package thing for you. I also saw a question in the chat regarding transportation, and I can show you what we've had in that past. So just like right now, there's shuttle stop transportation, and I can show you what the shuttle stops have been in the past. We don't have the updated ones for next year, but it'll give you an idea. But the big ones, I think, for most of our students are Morrison Plantation, the Food Lion on Brawley. Oh gosh, Lowe's Food, maybe. Yeah. Let me see if I can find it for y'all real quick. If somebody wants to.
I can also there was a question about parking, and I can go over that one with you real quickly. We have over 500 parking spaces here at South. We do offer them to juniors and seniors, which is customary for our larger high schools like Lake Norman and ourselves with parking. But we have never really ended up having a real issue with as far as parking is concerned. Now, I get this question all the time is, are sophomores in the IB program guaranteed a spot, or will an IB student be guaranteed a spot? What happens is when we sell parking, we tell students plenty enough time ahead that they can go ahead and they go in and apply. And then we call them when their parking spot is available and give out their spots. We have yet to run out where we've had juniors and seniors without parking spots. Every year, we also cycle through spots, meaning that we have seniors who graduate early, and that's about the time that some sophomores are getting their license. So at that point in time, we then offer the spots for half price for the year and do allow some students to go into a small lottery and pick up parking spots. With the parking around campus, especially since our campus has expanded with the addition of our Performing Arts Center, we've been able to take some of our students who take Mitchell Community College classes that come and go, and our students who have half days at CATS for different programs like the CP program, or they're just over there to take advantage of the Career and Technical Center, which, by the way, is 1 mile down the road, which is very appealing for our school since students can take direct advantage of that as a South Iredell student. and easily get to in-person hands-on career and technical education classes and Adobe classes and film, computer science, things of that nature as well. So a lot of people do that, but we try to get everybody who would like a parking spot in as much as possible. Now, as population goes up, that always becomes an issue with sophomores, but we do make sure that we get them transportation, and have not really had any students that have had parents that have really had too much of a hardship that we have not been able to work through. Ms. Jones, did you have anything you want to show about the, yep.
These are the shuttle stops from last year. Again, they can change slightly every year based on demand, but this is historically where we've had stops, and the district usually does a pretty good job as they have a rough estimate of how many rather will be using it. They'll even give you like an estimated time. We just don't have that information quite yet. It's a little bit early for that, but the Food Lion on Brawley, the Point Meeting House, Harris Teeter on Argus, Target, the Cove, Lowe's Foods, and Morrison Plantation. And know that you can have a different stop in the morning than the afternoon. So for example, if you worked at Lowe's corporate and it was convenient in the mornings to have that pickup point be the Cove, that's okay. But maybe you want to use Food Lion in the afternoon, that's fine. But what they have asked is that you have one dedicated morning and one dedicated afternoon, and not bounce back and forth, because they do have to be mindful of the numbers of kids on the bus and things like that. But that'll give you kind of a ballpark estimate of what to expect in regards to that.
It looks like we also had a question of what clubs do you offer? So can you kind of highlight some of the popular ones that you guys have?
So yeah, let me backtrack real quick. I don't want to get away too far because I did see a question early on about something. I wanted to try to catch that real fast before that we get going, and then we'll go to bridge that right into clubs. Somebody had asked about a full list of electives that are available. We were just in a pre-meeting for our registration meeting that's starting tomorrow, talking about a few things. And I had asked that we start to show students 2 years of their classes so that they register for 9th grade, but they can see what they would be registering for 10th grade, or at least what some of those choices would look like. And also creating a chart that shows parents the linear progression of school, like here's the English classes, here's the math classes, and so on. So when we get registration materials ready to go out, that'll be available on our website. It'll also be available for you guys to have. So all those questions, all those elective choices will be available for you to see. And we do have AP computer science. A lot of our students are very heavy into that. Physics, I mean, lots of things. And those kids in the physics class, speaking of clubs, our club policy is that clubs are based around students. So we do have the normal clubs that you would think of: Beta, National Honor Society. We have several honor societies that go through different things. I mean, I'll leave off some of the clubs, but they're all based on student interest, and students are allowed to start a club based on something that they feel like is an interest to them and has a service component. It has to be some way that that club is going to serve the school community or the greater community that they live in, or that the school serves as well. And since we have students from all over Iredell County, essentially it has to serve Iredell County or even larger, depending on what it is. So we've had everything from the knitting club to the video game club. What are some other ones, Ms. Jones, that we've had?
I think our biggest ones right now on campus are Interact Club,
Yep, Interact, huge.
Beta and National Honor Society, which is not a surprise. The Key Club, we have a really strong FFA program, Future Farmers of America, and it's kind of a neat thing to see, because we'll have kids who've never had any kind of experience with agriculture really kind of gravitate towards that and find leadership roles and things like that. But essentially, if we don't have it, the kids have the opportunity to make it for themselves. And so you do see it ebb and flow just based on what they're into. When I first started at South, we had a ukulele club and they played ukulele and just had a good old time. And then those kids all graduated and the ukulele club kind of died out. I see a question about traveling show choir. We do our chorus students and our choir students, they do participate in competitions and things of that nature. Mrs. Sinlewski, she's our chorus and orchestra director, and she can provide very detailed information about what that is, much more than I can. And, you know, we can always get you in contact with her too, to see what opportunities there are in regards to that. And a chess club. Yes, we do.
We do have chess and we do have show choir.
Mhm.
And so show choir is a club. So the chorus students can be in part of it, but it is always audition. So any student that maybe you didn't get into chorus, well, you still love to sing and you want to be part of the show choir, you can still be part of those programs. What we want to do is make it so that students have the ability to make their high school experience their high school experience. And so like Miss Jones said, the ukulele club, when they came to me with the ukulele club, I said, what are you going to do? Like, what's your service project? And they played benefit concerts at Randy's Barbecue in downtown Troutman, and then let people donate money at the concert, and they gave it back for a service project. So it's, there's a lot of really unique things that we see happen when we let kids drive instead of making it always adult driven. And that's what we want to do with clubs, is let the kids have a say. And then they get, of course, they're supervised, but they get a say in a club that interests them, and we give them the parameters and they really work through that.
And I see the question there about a visual art club. Yes, we have an art club as well, visual art club. And I will say that a lot of the clubs, even this year, with all of our constraints, have done a really good job of staying involved and engaged, even when they can't be together. So we have a essentially there's a French culinary club, and there's, and they've made food at home. They've all had a recipe and they've all tried things together, and that's been pretty neat to see. The Key Club, they've done several events on campus. They just want to help, and they said, what do you need done? What can we do to help? And they've come onto campus to help clean up. They've did a big trunk or treat thing with the kids at Troutman Elementary, and they took treat bags over to the elementary students and passed them out socially distanced in the car rider and the bus rider line. So, if you're familiar with South, you hear the service, innovation, honor, success. It kind of stands the same initials as our school, but it really is kind of what drives what we do here. And our kids, all of our students are really actively engaged and service minded. So it's a pretty neat thing. And they, of course, like I said, there's always opportunities to create. I think that's another really cool thing about South, is we try to get students engaged in like the decision-making processes. So if you've had a chance to come over for a tour, you may have met some of our student ambassadors. If not yet, hopefully you will. But they're a group of about 30 student representatives that help us with decision-making at the school. Like, they historically have organized all of our big campus events. They've helped put on our curriculum fair. They've helped with our freshman transition camp, with our school open house, because I can tell you what school's like all day long from my perspective, but it's going to be, my perspective is very different than other students. And I think there's a lot of value in that. And they know what students want to know. And they're so excited to help and get to like mentor the new ones as they come in. So it's a pretty neat thing.
If any of your children came tomorrow, some of our student ambassadors are leading tours, and they're very excited to meet some of your students and be able to talk about South, like you said, from a kid perspective. I also went out and met with some of the students on Monday and took Bridget Toomey with me, who's also one of our student ambassadors. And she talked to some of your students as well to give them a perspective from a student standpoint.
For anybody who's never been to the South campus, can you guys kind of elaborate on how it's laid out and how that's different than some other high schools?
So South is going to look much different than what most of you have ever experienced. Has anybody been to our campus? I see one hand. You can use the little hand icon if you guys know how to do that, or turn on your cameras. Oh, there we go. I want to say your first name correctly, but I know that you're Falua's little sibling. Is that correct? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was just in here with me when this meeting was started. I should have had him come in here and say hello. But our campus is very large, especially compared to Mount Warren. You know, Brawley, you guys have a little bit of room this year if you've been on campus, a little bit more elbow room than maybe you're used to, but South is huge in comparison. So I think I counted in any given day, we have students taking classes in about 10 to 12 buildings. You know, some of them can be small little outbuildings, but they're all over the place. And so at first, I really encourage you to come over and take a tour and to come over when school is actually in session, because I think that'll kind of help you get a feel for what it looks like. But at first it's overwhelming, and I'm not going to try to tell you anything other than that because it's big. But I will also say that you really quickly find your way around and you know where you're going. And we really are only transitioning a couple of times a day because of block scheduling. And so once you have it down, you have it down and you know where to go. And of course, like I said, our older students are very helpful. They want you to, they're happy to help. So, you know, I know that there's always that element of, you know, being the new kid on the block and afraid to ask somebody a question, but anybody around campus is more than happy to help you get where you're going. If you've not been here, please know we have a llama, and that's always like the selling point, right? Because what other school has a llama? We have a brand new greenhouse that students even haven't even had the chance to use yet. So we're kind of excited to see what they come up with that. We have what we call the art village. So our visual art class is in a whole building up by itself. It used to be like a workshop space, and they've taken out the garage doors and they put in these big, beautiful glass windows. So it's bright and airy and kind of a cool little funky art environment. We have brand new performing arts center and with new band and orchestra and chorus rooms. We have a really competitive robotics club. I saw that pop up just now, Connor, with a really great club advisor. His name's Mr. McCartney, who actually has a son here right now in the 9th grade. So there is more to do than you probably ever could. You could never do it all. So you have more options than you could ever really manage. And it's just a weird year right now without being able to physically come over. But when you get that opportunity, we really encourage you to do so.
And I did add, I know that some of the tour slots were filling up very quickly. So I did add earlier today a couple more slots as well as an additional date. I know that I think Miss Morgan, have you guys choosing is it the 22nd, Miss Morgan, that you need them to choose by? So I did go in and make sure that I added some additional slots before the 22nd. So if you guys were not able to get in on a tour date, go back and recheck, and I'm sure there's some open. And if there's an issue where that date just doesn't work for you or they fill up, feel free to email me and I can try to work out a different time for you if you need.
I saw a couple of more questions in there. World languages next year. So again, right now, the way that it'll work for students coming from the Brawley School, you will continue on in the language that you studied through middle school, or you may switch to Latin. So that Latin class is something that we started offering 2 years ago, because we know when you chose your world language class for middle school, you were in 5th grade, and you just kind of went on a gut instinct and chose Spanish or French, and you've been in it for several years, most of you. And sometimes, most of the time, that's been great, but sometimes maybe that's not the best choice. And so we have had some students who switched to Latin when they hit high school. And it was a sibling of a family that's on this meeting right now. They said that they took Latin and they really enjoyed that class because it was very much focused on vocabulary and writing, and not so much the speaking component, and they liked that. And they said that vocabulary bit really helped them even with things like ACT prep and their English class and kind of learning some of those root words. And so know that is an option for you all as well. We will offer Chinese when the 8th graders who are sitting in Chinese come up to high school, if that makes sense.
There was a question about Smart Lunch. So I think that one of the things that we have that students typically ask or say that they are concerned about when starting high school, one of the number one answers is lunch. which I know parents, you may be surprised, but that is one of the number one answers, not what's being served for lunch, but how will lunch work? Well, for the past, this is 7 years, we've offered Smart Lunch here at South. And unfortunately, our school district has made a decision that there will not be Smart Lunch anymore. Now, that is due to financial reasons and some other things, but don't fear. Just because they don't let us call it Smart Lunch doesn't mean that we will not have something in that nature for our students. So we started a committee this year to look at ways that schools have built in flexible periods so that they would be allowed do essentially what Smart Lunch had done. And what Smart Lunch's whole premise was an ability for students to manage time, to be able to learn how to manage their academics and also utilize that time to build relationships and to be able to get involved in school. And so one of the reasons we have so many clubs was we shifted everything to happening during the day. What I feel like is the students are there on campus, that's valuable time. We need to use that time to allow anybody who's on campus to be able to get involved and do things. So there was tutoring offered during that time, or students were assigned to Smart Lunch based off of needing to make up a quiz or based off of low academic performance. And students who were keeping up with their grades and didn't need to be assigned were allowed to be able to go to different things. So we've seen several different programs, and right now the one that seems the most feasible for our school for next year is a thing called Flex. And so we will be having a flex period starting next year. We're trying to figure out if we have it in the morning, which means that it might be called Smart Brunch, because that would just be ideal for us to, they took away Smart Lunch, so we start Smart Brunch. I'm just kidding, but it may be called that truthfully when we get done with it. And it will operate very similar to what we had done before, but students will be allowed to choose between options of things that they would like to go to and also be assigned. With Flex Period, it does a designated day for different subjects, and then teachers have rooms that are available for study hall. So the difference between Smart Lunch and Flex right now is that in Smart Lunch, because it's lunch, students had a lot of freedom. If they just wanted to hang out in an open area, they were able to do that and socialize for the entire hour if their academics were at that level, or they didn't have a club, or they didn't have other obligations. Like, they would do all sorts of things during that time. Community service projects, anything that you can think of that was part of campus life would happen during Smart Lunch. So we are planning on having a flex period, which means that we will go to a 3 lunch period day, and students will have what we're estimating about a 35-minute lunch that they'll be allowed to go to. And for our school, that is very feasible. We were feeding 700 meals, and that takes us approximately 20 minutes to get those students, if they all started and stood in line all the way through. And so what we did was we did a lot of data studies before we started Smart Lunch on how long does it take a student if they are the last person in the line and they go through the entire line, which for Smart Lunch, you have to do it based off your holistic school. So with 700 kids going through the line, which was our data at the time, it took about 20 so minutes to get them through. And then with a 35-minute lunch period, they would eat, and there were still 5 minutes left. Because if you've seen teenagers eat, they can eat excessively fast. And that was essentially where that data came from. It told us we could have Smart Lunch. But please note that anything like that, with whatever we do end up with permanent, there will be some form of block in the day that will allow students that ability to manage their time and be assigned to additional help with classes, or to sign up with a teacher for additional help, things of that nature.
All right. Do we have any other lingering questions? Like, you guys have given us a lot of good info. Just want to see if we have any other lingering questions from the group.
I did see a question on there about service hours. So presently our freshmen and sophomores, we require that they have 15 hours of community service each year. And then when they go into either if they go CP or DP route, it's a different number of service hours depending on the track and which pathway that they choose.
And I think it's also important to know, this won't be the only time you hear from us. We tend to, once we have all of these things kind of set in stone, we will host an information night where we'll recap some of the stuff like that screen I showed you that will show the difference in GPAs based on an academic level class or an honors or an AP. We basically call it High School 101, and we want to kind of make sure that you have the big information you need as you make that transition. And so, like I said, our next step is that registration meeting tomorrow, just so we can hammer out the fine details of any changes that we need to make in regards to course offerings or sequencing and things of that nature for students. And then we'll get that information communicated to you and let you know the dates for that event as well, because I think it's very helpful. You know, again, like I said, I think high school, when I was a kid, I grew up north. I'm a Michigander, and I know that some of you may be as well. So I grew up right here, if that's the case. But I went to a very small high school. I only graduated with about 80 people, and I just took the English class and the social studies class. Like, I didn't have all of these choices, and I know that it can be very overwhelming, but know that we really genuinely want to help you with this. So if there's questions, just reach out. We're glad to help in any way we can. Okay. And we'll get that information to you soon. I see a couple more questions. If I have high school credits, how does that affect my class schedule in 9th grade? That's a really good question. And I know that was sent to me directly, but I know most of the students from Mount Morn are coming to us, the Brawley School, are coming to us with credit for one high school world language class. And many of you will be coming to us with credit for Math 1 as well. And so that will be accommodated in your schedule. So most 9th graders come into level 2 for their world language class, unless you change to Latin, and that would be a level 1 course. And then your math placement would be based on where you are currently. Okay.
Ms. Hageman, their electives or their high school credits from middle school are on their transcript,
Mhm.
and they do get credits for them.
They
Correct?
do, but
Yes.
the grade itself does not become a part of the GPA.
Yes.
So when we send your transcript to a university later or to a technical school or whatever your choice is, it will be on there and the year that you earn the credit, but it won't go into the GPA that's created from all of your grades from all 4 years of high school.
It allows you some options that other students may not have later on. And so you get some unique choices, and depending on the program that you choose, those are numerous, but there are also great opportunities as you get up into the upper levels of your high school career to take advantage of many, many different things. I also want to let Ms. Hagerman talk to you real quickly. She is over our scholarships. And so one of the things that we like to tell families about South is that we typically have around $11 million is our average scholarships for South. And that is going on 7 or 8 years, maybe even more running. But I want her to just give you a real brief rundown of she's over scholarships, and it is certainly a big animal at our school, but it is something that she manages very well.
Yeah, we have a really robust scholarship program, and we have students who are really invested in applying for those dollars and competing for those dollars. We typically try to get the junior class, we want them to be aware of what the senior class earned the year prior, and they sort of can take it on as a little badge that we want to do better. I think at most we've had a little over 13 million in a year. But we have everything from the big 4-year free rides at Duke, Davidson, NC State, Chapel Hill, UNC Charlotte, in addition to a lot of local entities that want to give scholarships to our students, and opportunities at the campuses themselves. We always post things for Boston University, Boston College, NYU, Pratt, and SCAD, and because these are all schools that our students apply to. At South Iredell, even if your student may not be in the DP or CP come their senior year, but they decide to stay at South, we're getting a reputation at these universities because they're admitting our students and they're expecting those transcripts and that level of academic ability and social commitment. So we're really lucky in that we've gotten students into Stanford, Yale, the Ivy Leagues, regularly into all of the schools in North Carolina, and schools that are technical programs like Rensselaer or Rensselaer. I always hear it pronounced two different ways. Still haven't gotten anybody into RISD or Pratt, but we're working on it. But we're going to try to help you pay for it, and we're going to do our best to help support students in getting those scholarships and making that dream a reality.
And I will add to that and say it's been pretty neat this year, considering, like this is the school year that's a rough one. I'll call it like it is, and it's the school year that nobody asked for, but it is what we have. And this is a testament to our current senior class. Like their attitude, their perseverance, despite all of this, has been amazing. Like I tell them every time I see them about how proud I am of them. But even considering all of these obstacles, like those universities that Ms. Hageman was just referencing, I'm getting the reports every day from kids, got into Duke, got into Stanford, got into NYU, up for this, scholarship, up for the Park Scholarship at NC State, up for Moorhead Kane at Chapel Hill. So it's just really neat to see that the kids, we talk about academics, but it's bigger than that. You've been hearing about learner profile traits and approaches to learning skills since you were in the 6th grade, but those things are really shining through right now, that when the going gets tough, they've persisted and they've continued to put forth the effort and the work, and it's been pretty cool. So I hope that you join us in that, because it makes me happy.
We did have
Also want to let you know, we were selected by the Great Schools organization as a college success award this year, which essentially is rated out of the 29 schools in the Great Schools organization, is based off of your students who go to college and then stay in college, meaning that they are successful after their first year and then after their second year, and essentially graduate with their cohort. So that award is very nice for us, but it essentially lets us know that what we're doing here at South, we're creating skills in students that allow them to go on and be successful. And that's what we're after, is to be able to help them not just develop an educational foundation, but a skill set foundation that allows them to go out and to make an impact in the world and to be able to self-manage. And so when they get to college, they're not having that shock of what it's like. So I did hear from them yesterday in an email that we are actually a finalist in this process, and we may end up receiving an award. I'm not really sure if we'll be the top one, but we are narrowed down out of that first initial group. So keep your fingers crossed, because we're the only traditional high school in the county. It was us and the early college at Statesville, Crossroads, that was also in that award. And back to scholarships, I just wanted to let you guys know that, just to put that into comparison with our other schools, South's not the largest high school, but we have for the last 7 years had the largest scholarship totals. And so there is a culture there for our students to be able to, if they want to be a college going student, to be able to go out and find those resources. And so I like for that to be the case, just because college is expensive and we want them to be able to accomplish their dreams. And college isn't for everybody. Please don't get me wrong. I think that college is an avenue that for some is the way that they need to go. But if they are going to go, it's always nice that it doesn't, bite mom and dad in the pocket too awful hard. And so we want to create a culture that allows them to be able to have the resources to find scholarships, apply for them in a school that has a reputation where people are willing to give money because they want their student that they invest in to be able to be successful in college. And we certainly have worked very hard to help instill that in our students.
Hey, I saw a question in there earlier about the number of service hours needed to graduate. So if you've addressed, somebody came in my office, so if you addressed it, I'm sorry. And then also maybe touch on the project that students will do in a couple years.
Okay, so I did talk a little bit, Dr. Basham, about, I mentioned that there are 15 hours is what we require for our freshmen and sophomores community service. And we do offer lots of opportunity, for our kids to come on campus and get hours. I did an opportunity just this morning with some of our students. We did a campus cleanup. So we do offer lots of opportunity for kids to get those hours throughout the year. And then, as I said, for our juniors and seniors, it really just depends on what pathway they take as to the requirement of those hours. So our CP program currently is 50 hours that they get over the 2 years, and then a DP is 150 hours over the 2 years. Is that correct, Ms. Jones? No?
It's a little bit more nuanced than that, but it's not nearly that much. So the diploma students, the requirement is called CAS. It stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service. And so they have to have a balance of hours that demonstrate that they're involved with something creative, something where they're physically active, and then also some service in there. And that's just in an effort to make sure that kids are balanced, that they're actively engaged and they're not too focused on any one thing. And so again, it's over the course of 2 years. And so it ends up being about 50 of each over the course of 2 years. So it's nothing that they've had too big of a challenge with. And another neat thing we've seen is, if you all are familiar with Lily Bonomo, I know she's very helpful to both of our schools, but she has really encouraged a lot of our students to do the Presidential Award for service, and it aligns with what program requirements it are. So as kids are tracking these things between IB program requirements and Crosby Scholars, all of her children have done it. And I know we've had several others this year, DJ Cook, Charlie Abbey, Kate Harris, who've all also received that kind of national level of recognition. And so it's just things that really have been beneficial to our students, and they complement one another. So it's worked out really well for those who've pursued that.
And your second question was a little bit about the personal project. Was that your second question? Sorry. Sophomores will complete personal project in their sophomore year. And that is something that we do have a personal project coordinator that works hand in hand with them. All of our students are also assigned to a school supervisor that helps with them. And we've really broken down that project where they complete stages all throughout the year, and they get lots of different help and support with that project. And we've seen some great projects over the years. And again, it's something that we like for them. It's something that they're passionate about. We like for them. It's not a topic that they are assigned, but a topic that that they feel that they something that they're passionate about, and something that they can choose to grow. So for example, we have some kids who currently are playing an instrument, and maybe they want to learn to play a different instrument, or they might want to compose. One of my students right now, she's writing a short story. So it's something that is of interest of them, and it's kind of a culminating project through the MYP program.
All right, there's another question in there about service learning and DEPs. Someone wants to take that question?
We do service learning, as I said, with both the community service, as well as we do service learning that a lot of our teachers will incorporate into their classrooms as well. Your DEP, if you're an AIG, is also something that we do, and Mr. Ivy can attest to when we were talking about with Flex Block. That is something that our students do with their advisory. So whenever your students come in, they're assigned an advisory teacher that stays with them all 4 years, and that advisory teacher helps them and guides them through that DEP each year.
Thank you, Ms. Bostic.
And in case you're not aware, DEPs, for those of you that may not know, DEPs are for your AIG students. So if you're identified as AIG, you'll do your DEP.
Are there any other questions? Did anybody notice that sometimes I align my head underneath these horns on accident? Every once in a while I look up and I make myself move so it doesn't happen.
We did just get a question about what are the school's hours?
Right now we're 8 a.m. to 3:10.
All right. Do we have any final thoughts from our South Iredell team?
I did want to address one thing. So we got a lot of students on here that I was surprised that nobody asked. They typically ask this question. They did not ask about the amount of workload. So I want to remind you that when you were a beginning IB student, meaning that you joined from 5th grade to 6th grade, there was a transitional time, and you went from having those classes in elementary school to then all of a sudden having 8 classes going simultaneously and juggling A day, B day. And that learning curve may have taken you a little bit to get used to. Some it did, some jumped right in. And then some students feel like it got progressively harder each year. So 7th grade was a little bit harder than 8th grade, and 8th grade was a little bit harder, or 7th grade was a little bit harder, and so on. And so they felt like that when they come to 9th grade, it's going to be essentially one more ramped up situation. And so what we found is it's actually not that case. When they come to 9th grade, because at the Brawley and also at Northview, the day is shortened. So a lot of your classes are essentially your time is crunched, even though this year it's a little different with the unique schedule that we're going through. As they get to 9th grade with Flex Block and Smart Lunch, what we did have, but those things, it allows them to actually manage their time quite a bit better. And it seems like in 9th grade, it's kind of the year that they get to kind of just recuperate a little bit. They also are on campus for all of their activities and things. I know that sports have been started at the Brawley, and when I was the principal at Northview, we did not have sports. So they had to juggle going back and forth between schools and things. But ultimately that transition to 9th grade from one of the IB feeder schools is very easy. And so I don't want students to think that it's going to be even more. It's really not an even more. It's actually, I feel like an even better supportive environment at that case for a high school student. Not that the Brawley's not doing a great job supporting. That's not what I mean. I just mean that they're always worried that I'm going to this big place and it's not going to be there. South is a big campus, but it feels like a very small family. And we focus extremely hard on trying to make sure that we build relationships with students and that we know who they are and that those students are cared for by their teachers and their community. So I just want to make sure that if that was something that you're concerned about, that you know that that's kind of where we are with that. I also want to make sure that you guys remember that I encourage each of you to finish your MYP journey with us here at South, because I think if you started something and you took the courage to do it, you ultimately should end that with us. But I appreciate you guys, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out to one of us. I'm going to give an opportunity for the other members of the team if they want to say anything, but we will have additional information sessions and things for you guys so you can learn more about the school. But thank you again very much for all that you're doing.
I'm going to just go next just to close out and encourage anybody to reach out to one of the counselors here. If you have a question, our email addresses are all on the website. But also as a parent of 2 students who have been through this program, they were exceptionally well prepared for university. I think even my son has surprised himself. So I have an appreciation for what happens in the classroom. I have an appreciation for the opportunities they are given to express themselves and share their opinions and even good-spirited debate. And I think that's how we learn, is talking that through. And so I just really cannot say enough for the foundation they were given before taking that next step. And they have both said that they are happy that they completed the program they were in because they feel like it did give them that. They had the organizational skills, they had the confidence to speak to faculty, and it made the difference for them. So I just encourage you to reach out if you have questions, and to know that as a parent, we felt it was a huge value for both of our kids.
All right. Well, if that's it for final thoughts, thank you guys so much for answering all the questions, and all the parents and students, thank you for taking the time to attend. I see Mr. Shinkarik popped on camera, so maybe he has some final thoughts as well.
Yeah, I would just end with saying, kind of echoing what Mr. Ivy said, is that it's, I think, a great opportunity to complete the MYP program. I get all the time, I get questions on, what should we do? Should we go to South or Lake Norman or early college? And in my short time here, my third year as principal at an IB school, I will say that I've just fallen in love with the IB curriculum, the philosophy of what we're trying to do here at our school. And those same tenets are established at the high school as well. And so I'd be lying to say that I'm not biased towards South, just because of, again, the philosophy and the mission of what an IB school is supposed to be. And these people here from South, I know them each of them, and think they do a great job at their school. We have great options in our district. You certainly can't go wrong at Lake Norman High School or the early colleges, but they have a great program here at South, and they have choices even within their school, as you heard today, that you can't go wrong. But I am probably partial to my friends here at South, although I will say I am a little bit cooler than Mr. Ivy, but still a big fan of his.
That's okay. I got
Believe
your
that
private message
for a minute.
earlier. Yeah, I got your private message earlier that said that, I was really cooler, but I'm going to let you have this one. No, Mr. Shinkarik does an absolutely outstanding job, and so do all you guys. And so we always look forward to having you guys transition to us. We think that it's neat to see everybody become part of our school family. And we look forward to being able to serve you and your children and the students that are on here in the future. And we really do take it on as a mission of our school, is to be able to create better citizens for tomorrow. And that is really a major part of it. So it's so nice when you have that alignment between your feeder programs and that every one of your values and things are already there. It just really makes that a seamless transition. So thank you guys for what you do.
Yeah, I have to say too, being split between the two schools for a couple years, I don't think South is definitely, feels like a family. It has a great culture. Students absolutely love it and appreciate that small feel among their teachers. They get a lot of assistance and support. And so, I shouldn't say which one I think is cooler, because that might be a difficult thing for me to have to live with over the next, my time here, but you guys can figure it out. But no, South is awesome. Mr. Shinkarik is also, I have to say.
All right, we'll let the popularity contest end there. And thank you, everybody. And be on the lookout for those emails regarding the information Bostic is sending over as well. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. It was good to not see you, but take care.
Bye, guys.